بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
Okay, fine. So the next thing, we'll try to understand the ACL logic, basically the logic, how the ACL works. Basically, it works in a sequential order. So we are ready to go with the configuration, but before that, we'll just try to understand the order you write the ACLs, because this is very important. If you write in a wrong order, your ACL may not work. So basically, ACL uses the first match logic. In other words, we can say it works in a sequential order. Sequential order means it will check the first rule. If the first rule matches, like here you can see, if the first rule matches, there are three rules here, you can see. If the first rule matches, like let's say if the traffic is coming from, let me take my own example, simple ones. So if I write the first rule, and if the first rule if it matches, then it is going to do according to the what is defined in the rule one. Let's say if I say deny, it will deny. If I say permit, it will permit. Okay, so if the traffic comes, if it not matches the first rule, then it will check the second rule. So if the second rule match, so if the first rule do not match, then it will check the second rule. If the second rule matches, then it will deny or permit. If I say deny, it will deny. If I say permit, it will permit. And let's say if the packet comes, if it not matches the first rule, also not matches the second rule, it will match the, if it matches the third rule, it will do according to the third rule. Okay, so the thing you need to understand is it's like first match logic. It means that if a packet matches the first rule, it will never check the second or third rules normally. So it's not like that it will check all the rules. So it works, it stops on first match logic, which means if the first rule matches, then it will take an appropriate action, what is defined, whether to deny or permit, whatever you tell here, which means the next statements it will never check. So that's the reason writing the ACL in a proper sequence is very important. Okay, so like if you take these two examples, in these two examples, one is correct, one is wrong. So if I'm writing a statement where I'm saying deny the one dot network, means the complete 192.168.1 dot network will be denied. And let's say you want to permit 1.1 host in that. So I want to deny the complete network, 192.168.1 dot network. I want to deny except 192.168.1.1. Let's say that is your requirement. So what is the correct order you write? So if I write like this, if I say 192.168.1 dot network, and even if I'm saying permit 1.1, what is going to happen here? So let's assume there is a packet which is coming with 192.168.1.1 with the source address. So it's going to match the first rule. And the first rule says, okay, it matches, right? Because this 1.1 host comes in this range, this network range. And what is the rule? Deny. But what is my requirement? My requirement is that should be permitted. Okay, so there's a reason in this, if you have this kind of requirement, then basically you have to write the permit here. We'll say permit 192.168.1.1 host /32 means one host. Okay, just you can write host space IP address also. We'll see the exact syntax. So we'll say permit this host, and then I'm going to say deny the complete the rest 192.168.1 dot network. So if you write this order, then basically 1.1 will be never permitted, because when the 1.1 host comes, it will only match this rule and it will be denied, because as per the logic here, the router will only take the action listed in that line and it will not look the further ACLs. Okay, so based on this example, you need to understand the most appropriate or more specific you have to write in the beginning. Specific means, like here I want to write 192.168.1 dot network and 192.168.1.1 host. So which is more specific, like host is more specific, the nearest one. So most of the time we write the specific options in the beginning here. Now similar way, if you take another example here, let's say out of these two statements, which one, the one is correct, one is wrong. So this one is wrong, because if I say permit any in the beginning, let's say, now what happens? Now my requirement is I want to deny 192.168.1 dot network, and I want to deny 192.168.2.1, and rest of the networks I want to permit. I want to permit all the remaining networks. So again, this is the correct order. So we say deny, deny, and then permit any. But let's say if you're writing permit any in the beginning, now what happens is when the packet comes from 2.1, it matches the first rule and it says permit any. Any means match any packet. So what it is going to do, it is going to permit, but basically what I want, 2.1 should be denied. So again, here also the more specific we need to write in the beginning, like permit any, we generally write in the last, which means that I'm saying all the remaining should be permitted except these two. So deny this network and deny this 2.1 host and rest of the networks, because rest are many, because if you have hundreds of hosts, it's not possible for you to write say that okay, permit this all the 100 hosts. So simply we say permit any means above should be denied and the remaining should be permitted here. Now one more thing we need to understand, if a packet do not match any of the items, like if you take an example, this rule, this one, 192.168.1.3 is the source address. So here I'm taking only source, but the same rule will apply for if I'm using extended ACL. If it has to match the destination, it has to match the port number, it has to match the protocol. But let's take simple way. If a packet matches this specific source, so this is a packet which is coming. Now it hits the router, and on the router we have configured this ACL, and it will check the first rule. 1.1 means one single host, not match, because this is 1.3, and the second rule it will check do not match. So there is no third rule. So there is no third rule, and it does not match any of the rules. So what my router is going to take the action? What action it's going to take? So basically it is going to deny. Remember, if a router receives any packet, just like if you take a security guard standing on your gate and he sees someone coming with some kind of proof or some kind of document which he doesn't understand, or there is no rule actually defined. So he's not going to say, okay, no problem, I don't understand, I'm going to allow you. That's not the way, right? So by default, if a router is configured with some ACL rules, and if a packet is coming with if packet is coming and then if it is not matching any of the rules, then the default is deny. So by default there is a deny statement. Of course it will not be written here, but we call it as implicit deny. The implicit deny means if no rule matches if the packet do not match any of the rules, basically the ACL is going to drop that particular packet. The packet will be discarded, and it has a deny all statement implied at the end of the ACL, but you don't see that. It doesn't exist in the configurations, but basically that is the option here. So this sequence is very important, because if you don't understand the sequence and you just go and randomly write the rules, that's not going to work. So very important you know this sequence, how it's going to work, and when you're writing the rules or when you're modifying in the future the ACL rules, we need to make sure that we follow the sequence, and more specific entries should be written in the beginning, whether it is a permit or deny.